Front-End Authority is an online community that promotes the ongoing education of
Introducing
front-end
Vue.js. Well, for several months ago, we started a project here for the redesign of the Front-End Authority website into a web app. And we split up into two teams. And we had a development team and a design team. And on the development team, we decided that we were going to use Vue.js as our technology to do the coding. So I kind of jumped in and painstakingly learned some stuff about it and kind of fell in love with it. So I'm going to give a quick introduction, go through some slides, show some features, what I think is really good about it. And then I'll put some live code up, which is actually kind of the boilerplate for the Front-End Authority web app. And we'll go through the live code so I can show you really how simple it is. And then take questions. Yeah? Well, we were talking about using Angular or React or something like that, and we went, well, why don't we try a lightweight framework that none of us even knows anything about so that we can learn something new. And so it's like, oh, Vue.js, okay. So we just kind of landed on that one, like throwing a dart at a dartboard. Okay, so what is Vue.js? Is this readable, by the way? Yeah, good. Okay. Sorry? Oh, yeah, okay. Right. Right. There we go. Okay. Okay, so what is Vue.js? Vue.js calls itself a library for building interactive web interfaces. You know, I call it a framework. It's focused on the Vue layer, but with the addition of proper tooling and libraries and so forth, it can be a framework. It follows an MVVM architectural pattern, which is model view, view model. And here's a really simple example. So the view is just a DOM node. In Vue, there's no virtual DOM. It's like a real DOM. And then the model is just a JavaScript object. That's all it is. And then you create an instance of Vue, and you bind the model, which is your data, to a DOM element. In this example, it's a DOM element with the ID of example 1, and that's it. So we bound the view to a model. What do you have to do to make it reactive? That's it. Just like that. That's a very simple reactive component right there. So as soon as the data changes, the view is going to automatically get updated. So if you've ever seen or worked with React, this is all going to look very familiar to you. Vue.js is component-based. So this is what a component looks like. You extend your example, which is an instance of Vue. You have a template, which is your DOM element. You have your data, which is JavaScript object. And that's it. That's a component. Modularity. If you use Vue.js with a bundler like Browserify or Webpack, each component's going to be its own module. So importing and exporting is really easy using a bundler. And to do that, we just take the object that we created in the last example and just wrap it in another object and export it. Just like that. That's it. Similarly, it's easy to import modules. You simply import it, and then you register it inside your module, inside your component, and then it's available inside of your template. Notice the nomenclature. When you put it inside your template, it's all lowercase with a dash. And when you import it, the name is The first letter is capital, and then it's camel case. So these are what I think is good about Vue.js. It's a reactive, component-based, modular. They have simple animations that you can use right out of the box. I haven't looked at them myself, but apparently that's a feature because some people talk about how difficult it is to use animations in some of the other frameworks. And Vue is very easy to learn. The bad part is that it's not supported by Google or Walmart Labs or Facebook. The development community is somewhat limited. So there is the possibility that it could just go away. But so I pasted this little blurb from Evan Yu. He's the founder of Vue.js. And this is kind of his rebuttal to people who might say that. He talks about test coverage and bugs. And he says that, if you roll out your app on Vue.js, Vue.js is stable and will still be around a year or 2 years from now. So as I mentioned earlier, Vue.js is a library for building interactive web applications. How does it become a framework? We need to pull in some other tools. The community has created some of these tools to work with Vue. And with the addition of these tools, you have a fully featured framework. So, of course, we need a router. The router, to me, looks very much like the React router. So in your main.js file, which is your entry file, you import your router and then you use it. And you'll see that pattern repeated over and over again, import and use. We create a new instance of the Vue-router, create our router map, pull the app into the router and start it, and that's it. And then if you go into the app component, which is the top-level component, so as I mentioned, Vue.js is component-based, so you always have a parent component. In this case, it's app. So you go into the app component, and then you just instantiate your router view, and that's it. You got yourself a router. It supports nested routes. It's pretty powerful and really easy to use. Vue-resource. So Vue-resource is another plugin that's really powerful and really easy to use. It's the plugin that was developed to work with Vue, to work with RESTful APIs. Again, you just require it and use it in your main.js file. And then, so unlike Angular, where you have to inject the HTTP service as a dependency into your modules and so forth, this one, it's just there and you just use it. So in your component, you create an instance of the HTTP function, pass in an options object, and then you get a promise. And then inside of your callbacks, this keyword is bound to the instance. And that makes it really easy to do your AJAX request, get your data, shove it into your model, and then your model is bound to your view, and it's really easy. And I'm going to demo this later to show you how easy it is. So Vue-router is like the secret sauce of Vue.js. Vue-router is it's a loader for Webpack, and it works with Webpack, and it helps you to write Vue components and transform them into JavaScript modules. And it makes your Webpack a lot more powerful. You get ES 2015 like right out of the box. It takes each part of your component and it'll pipe it through the appropriate loader. So in your styles, your styles could just be plain CSS, or you could use Sass. And you don't have to tell Webpack, hey, if you see Sass, put it through this loader. Vue-router does that for you. So I really like that. And then it automatically handles your static assets, like JPEG files, PNGs, whatever. It takes care of that for you. And best of all, you can scope your CSS to the component. And that's because Vue-router has post-CSS built it right into it. So all you have to do is say, hey, I want this scoped, and it's done. And also, it supports hot component reloading, provided that you have your Webpack configured properly. So I cut and paste this little blurb right out of the documentation because I think it really sums it up. It gives you a modern, flexible, very powerful front-end workflow. So this is what a Vue component looks like when you're using Vue-router. You got your template tag up at the top, and that's just your DOM node. You see the curly braces right there. That's how you bind your data to the model. And below that, you have your script tag. Your data model is inside that script tag. And then at the bottom, you've got your style tags. In this case, the language is specified as Sass, and it's scoped. If you wanted to make global styles, you can do that too. You could have two style tags. One style tag could be scoped, the other style tag could be global. So it's really powerful. What I like about this is it makes code reuse really easy because you've got your template, all of your JavaScript, and all of your styles all encapsulated into this one file. So you're not running off and looking for a controller, looking for a model, looking for a view, and grabbing stuff out of different folders. It's just like all right here. Also, and Nelson's talked about this a lot, synergy between designers and developers. It doesn't get any easier than that. Developer just creates the Vue component, codes up all the behaviors and so forth, hands it off to a designer. The designer takes this, sees, oh, there's my template, there's my styles. The designer doesn't need to know what's going on between these script tags. The designer can scope their styles so that multiple designers that are working on multiple components aren't stepping all over each other. And I think this would make designers and developers be very productive together. So if you decided to start developing an app with Vue.js, how would you get started? Well, the way I did it was I just kind of jumped in and started doing it, and I started building my own scaffolding piece by piece by piece and working through all the bugs, and finally I had a working scaffold. And then maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I found this. They've already rolled out some scaffolding, and it's in the VueJS documentation. If you look in there, you'll find it. And they have templates available for Webpack and Browserify. And they also have a very simple one that's just HTML. So you can start with one of these. You can use it as is, or you can fork it and customize it. And that would probably be easier than doing it the way I did it. So the CLIs are available on the GitHub repository for Vue.js. Okay, what about large-scale apps? Can you do a large-scale app on Vue.js? Yes, you can. People have done it. There is a thing to help you. It's called Vuex. It's a Flux-inspired application architecture for Vue.js, and that is also available on the GitHub repository under Vuex. So I'm going to throw this slide up here, and this is the Flux architecture and the Vuex architecture. At first glance, they look a lot different, but at second glance, they're exactly the same thing. You got data flowing in one direction. You've got your states stored outside of your components. You've got your action creators, your dispatcher, and it's pretty much the same thing. So if you're familiar with Flux architecture and you're comfortable with it, then this Vuex would probably be a good place to start. Okay, so performance. I don't want to get too political here. I know some people are really married to various frameworks, but there's this guy. I don't know what's better, React or Vue, but this guy, Max Wilmot, thinks he knows. He wrote an article on it. He calls it a real-world example, and he coded it up in React and coded it up in Vue.js, and he did this comparison. And so I'm just going to throw out the last line in his whole article. He says that Vue handles frequent changes to existing elements and data much better than React. So you can go ahead and here's the URL down here. You can read it for yourself and make up your own mind of which framework's better, or which one performs better. So if you're interested in learning Vue.js, I think these LoRa casts are excellent. That's where I started. They're really good at teaching you Vue.js. Eventually, as you get further into the Laracasts, they're going to push you into a Laravel kind of workflow, which I didn't want, so I kind of jumped off the train there. But for just getting started with Vue.js, these are both excellent courses. Also, there's the Vue.js website, which has all the documentation. And Evan Yu, he's the founder of Vue.js. This Vue.js is his personal project, and he has a blog, and you can go to the blog and read about some of the stuff he has to say about it. So I guess that's it for my slides. So let's put some code up. Let me get my dev tools. Okay, so I created a boilerplate for the Front-End Authority web app. There's not a lot here. I've got a home page and I've got an events page. I want to show you. So here's my webpack.config file right here. There's not a lot there. It's pretty simple. Got my entry point and I got a build. So it's going to take all of my modules and squish them together and build a file called build.js. And I got a few loaders. If you've ever used Bootstrap with Webpack, then you've probably seen these two lines right here with the jQuery. You need to have those, otherwise Webpack's going to come back and error out and say I couldn't find jQuery. Because in Webpack, the Q is capitalized, and in the module that's loaded, the Q is lowercase. So you kind of have to help Webpack out a little bit. And other than that, I've got a file loader for various types of resources. And down at the bottom, there's my Vue loader. So that just tells Webpack, hey, when you see a file that's .vue, pipe it through the Vue loader. Really simple. Here's my package.json, and these are all the modules that I loaded up, pretty much one at a time, figuring it out as I went along. And so that's my boilerplate there. So here's my entry file, main.js. This is kind of where you just pull in Vue.js and pull in the other tools that you're using. You see the recurring pattern of requiring and using. So I'm requiring the Vue-router, using it, requiring Vue-resource and using it, and you can see that you can do that in one line. This thing that says require expose, that is exposing my app to jQuery, because in my next line I'm requiring Bootstrap, and Bootstrap needs jQuery. So I create a new instance of the router, and I require the top level app, the Vue component, and there's my router map, and I extend my Vue instance, pass that to the router, start the router, and that's it. Where's my main.js? I don't know, where's my index? There it is. Okay, here's my top level HTML file. I have a div ID called app. That's where I'm mounting the app. And then I have an instance of my app component, which is my parent component for all the other components. And then I source my build.js file. And that's it. That's my top level right there. And then I have my components file or folder. And this is my top level component right here. Template, script, and style. So this is a app.vue file. So this will get piped through the Vue loader. So I'm importing my a block called header block and registering it. And then I just instantiate it up there at the top. And then I have my router view. And that's it. That's the top level of my app right there. This right here, oops, better undo that. I threw that in there to show you how props work. Props work in Vue the same way they work in React. You pass them in as an attribute, and that colon is just shorthand for Vue bind or vbind. So I'm binding that attribute to this tag down here called header message. So I'm just binding that using the colon, passing that to my header block. And here's my header block. Okay, so there's a header block. So down here in the script tag, you see props. So that's just like just like React, you just have props there. That's passed into the attribute, and then that's available in the template, just like so. And so right here, see where it says, hello, this is the parent, that's the prop that I passed in right there. And I'm going to show you that this is reactive. There it goes.
Well, can you make it white?
I can. Let me close the DevTools. There we go. Okay. Let me try this again. So this is the parent node right here. There, it's reactive. So as soon as I change this data and header message, the view in the child component immediately updates. So that's the hot reload feature that's built into VueLoader using Webpack. So it'll automatically hot reload every instance of that module. Every module that uses that component will automatically get hot loaded when you save it. So here's the next thing I want to show you. Okay, this is my events page. These are the events off of the meetup.com, the front-end authority meetup.com page. So I'm actually grabbing the events right off meetup.com and populating this component with them. Let me open that one. Okay, here we go. So down here inside my script tag, I've got this thing called getEvents, a method called getEvents, and then there's this.http $.jsonp. That's the Vue-resource. That's an instance of Vue-resource. So all I'm doing is passing it a URL and a couple of options, and I get the response. And remember I said that this keyword is going to be bound to this component. So all I have to do is say this events gets response.data results, and that is pulled right into my model right up here. And then up here in my template, I'm using a v4, which is kind of like a for each loop, and I'm populating the template with the data off the meetup.com API. Okay, so you'll notice for event description, I'm using 3 curly braces instead of 2. That interprets it as HTML. And I'll show you what happens if I remove those, one of them. So that's HTML. So by using 3 curly braces, I'm basically telling Vue, hey, this is HTML, render it as HTML. You should only do that with a trusted source, by the way. Yes, sir. Sorry.
It's okay. 5 minutes so we can read the...
Okay. All right, so I got like 1 or 2 more things to show you. Okay. There we go. Let's see. Oh, okay. So up here where I'm rendering the event time, I'm passing that into one of my helper methods, and you can do that right inside the template like I did. And all that's doing is taking the date time from meetup.com, which is in milliseconds, and converting it into a human readable format. So the takeaway, though, what I'm trying to convey to you is that with very little code, almost no code at all, I was able to grab the events off the meetup.com API and populate this page with them with, I don't know, like 30 or 40 lines of code. So it's really, really simple, really powerful. And that's about it. You guys got any questions?
Okay, so back in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
what would you have done differently, or would you have still, are you happy you went down to Vue.js? That way? Or?
Well, I'm happy because I learned a lot, so I'm happy that I did it because I learned a lot. But if I was going to start a new project, I would grab one of their CLIs and not go through the painstaking process of trying to get all this stuff to play nice together. Yeah. But now that it's done, it's really nice because I've got tons of all these modules that and then Webpack just jams it into build.js file. I've got Bootstrap in here. I've got Sass Loader. I've got Babel. I've got pretty much anything you can think of. And so I have it with one push of the button. I've got a build, and I could deploy it to a live server in like 10 seconds. Maybe I'll do a presentation on that next time. But yeah, I mean, it was painful, and I ran into a lot of problems, but I learned a lot doing it. So yeah, I'm not sorry I did it. But so now, we have this beautiful boilerplate set up, got it working. So what we need is for the design and development teams to come back together and start working on this thing. So hopefully I've inspired some of our development team members to re-engage and get this web app going, get it done.
What would be your advice for a designer to work within Bootstrap?
Within Bootstrap?
Yeah, because you've loaded up Bootstrap.
Yeah, Bootstrap is there.
Do you see any conflict of interest there? Having a designer come on and be like, well, Bootstrap's already designed, so I don't know.
No, well, the the template and the styles are pretty much separate from the behavior. So I could write all my code and put whatever behavior I want in there, and the designer, the template and the CSS is like an empty sandbox for them to play with. It would have no effect on anything that I've done.
So you would suggest to the designer, go ahead and override the basic Bootstrap?
Only when necessary. I would say use Bootstrap whenever possible. I mean, you already have it, right? So you already have a responsive app right out of the box. So just supplement it, don't overwrite it, is what I would say. Yeah. Yes.
And have you ever actually looked at the animations or how they're implemented yet?
I haven't looked at the animations, but if you go to Evan Yu's blog and he has a reintroduction there, he talks about it, and he's pretty excited about it and proud of it. Because, he says it's really easy to use. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but like if anyone wants to go in and do that, maybe that would be another topic for a presentation.